Hi, it's Joe Arlinghaus. Wanted to give you a little Valor America update. I don't know if this kind of video pleases our donors or if it's irritating to have to watch a video. Of course, you don't have to watch. I'm just attaching this to an email to maybe give you a little bit more personal explanation of what's going on. So here we are. It's the middle of 2019. The 2020 election is 18 months away. A little bit less now. Tuesday of last week was 18 months. And of course, the big race next year will be the presidential election. But Valor America is committed to doing several things that are new. First of all, we're going to expand our work outside of Senate and presidential election. We're going to do both of those. But we're also going to engage in some efforts to win some House seats. There's a special opportunity here, of course, because the Democrats have narrowly won some House seats in the last few elections, last three elections. There are almost 35 seats where they are really just barely hanging on. And with a little bit of extra help, we ought to be able to flip some of these seats. What we specialize in, as you know, is shifting a little bit of the Democratic vote over to the Republican side, finding those marginal people who just need a little nudge and finding the right nudge to give them. So we think we can focus in on some of these seats. We won't be engaged in 35. That's crazy to imagine we'd be able to afford to do that. But I think 10 for certain, and possibly 15 or 20. It all depends on the fundraising that we can do. Those are going to be really interesting because we have developed some new testing possibilities in congressional districts where up to now it's been harder to go down to that small an area and get really good data. Dr. Schaefer and his team have some better ways of getting data at that small level. So we're excited to do that. On the Senate level, there are several seats that we are going to be engaged in. We think the sleeper seats, the two seats that not many Republicans are paying attention to, but we are because we were there last year, are the Minnesota seat and the Michigan seat. In both cases, the same Republican may be in the race. In the Minnesota seat, it's a rematch. It would be the incumbent Tina Smith, Democrat, who's just won the special election last November. That's to replace Al Franken, as you'll remember. And she now has to run for a full term this November of 2020. And then in Michigan, it's John James, probably again, although it could be that he doesn't win the primary. And he hasn't even announced yet, so that's uncertain. But he'd be up against Gary Peters, the other incumbent Democrat. And of course, in a presidential year with Donald Trump really focused on Michigan, that could be another opportunity there. Most people are going to be focused on Alabama to regain that seat for the Republicans. We probably won't because it'll be too busy. Too much will be going on there, and it ought to be an easy Republican win. We are looking at some other states. Colorado, Cory Gardner is the incumbent Republican, though we kind of think he's a little bit squishy and don't like his stance sometimes. Of course, we'd rather have him than a Democrat. And the same thing in Maine with Susan Collins, much less friendly to our beliefs, but we'd rather have her than a Democrat, we think. But I don't know if we'll get involved in either race, only if we think we can make a difference. And then we're watching some other seats just to see what the possibilities are. With President Trump, we'll be focused, of course, on those Midwestern states where he has to win again, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and probably Minnesota, which was a close loss for him last time. Possibly in New Hampshire, and some things about the Senate seat there to pay attention to as well. But all of that's next year. The nature of what we do is you have to test things early. You can't just jump in and guess. That's what everyone does. Even when you're making educated guesses, which hopefully everyone's doing, you're still guessing. And we really pride ourselves on making decisions based on good data that we've gathered in advance. So we have some special opportunities right now to do that. Tomorrow there's a Senate congressional special election in Pennsylvania, the 12th congressional district. President Trump is speaking there tonight. If you haven't, if it isn't past the time that he's spoken, you should listen to his speech there. That's been a great opportunity for us to look at a district that's rural, that's very pro-Trump, that's very pro-Republican, and look at ways we might increase turnout there. That's really our focus, but also find those Democrats left behind who still think of themselves as Democrats but who are more conservative than their party, to find those folks and the messaging that works for them. We are always retesting things that have worked before, but we're looking for new stuff as well. Late-term abortion is a fascinating issue that Donald Trump has made more effective. Of course, the recent freak out on the left over the Alabama abortion law may well change that. That's why our testing is so important. There's 2 special elections just like this in North Carolina coming up. They're already hot and heavy. There's really great opportunities there to look at this. We're going to be focused this year on 2 different things. Now, our usual thing is we're talking to, as I said already, those marginal Democrats, those people who we're searching for who they are. We can guess, but we're not guessing. We're analyzing the districts to figure out where are these people who, though they vote Democrat, might be able to switch in this case. And although it's generally the same sorts of people, the precise definition of them changes from election to election. We have focused on Hispanics, as you know before, but not just any Hispanics, to find the right kind of Hispanics. We've focused on blue-collar white Democrats. Again, not just any blue-collar white Democrats, but a certain precise set of beliefs they have to have. Developing that exact model in each race is essential. And then also picking the messages that will, this time, wake them up. And that's what we're always trying to do. These are not magic, potions that make people do what we want them to do. Really, all we're doing is finding a message that can break through the noise this time, and it might be different this time than last time, and awaken them to a reality they might be hiding from. A reality like Joe Biden isn't a moderate. Joe Biden isn't the friend of the working man. That's what he'd like you to think, but we want to hone in on truths about him that will upset them. Things like that. The new thing we're doing in this year that we've really never done before. We've done a little bit of it, but it hasn't been our focus at Valor America. The research team's done it for a long time, off and on. It's doing get out the vote tests. So in this case, we're not talking to marginal Democrats. We're talking to our friends. We're talking to people we expect to vote Republican. But we want to figure out how to get those folks that are least likely to vote to show up, to bump up our turnout numbers. Never have the Democrats been more animated than they have been since 2016. Obviously, we know that. That should continue into 2018. We need to be as animated as possible. We've got to, even in districts where the president is going to do fine, the congressman is going to do fine, the senator is going to do fine, we want to bump up the turnout to get every possible vote, because it could matter for the electoral votes for the state. And of course, it always matters for that national popular vote. As much as that doesn't determine elections, the media uses it to beat up on our side. So we're going to be doing get out the vote test too. And these things are different than what we normally do. And they're actually easier to test, because all we're doing is we'll break groups of voters up into 1,000 each, maybe a couple thousand each, and we'll be emailing them and texting them and digitally advertising to them in the days before the election. And then all we have to do is figure out if they actually voted or not. And the nice thing is those are public records. So we can very precisely determine who voted. And then we can compare the groups. It's important that they're statistically identical groups. This group gets message A, this group gets message B, but that the people in the group look the same. And then we just simply work out, was there a statistically significant increase in any of the groups. That's what we're up to. The budget for this is just simply bigger. We pride ourselves, as you know, on efficiency, on spending as little as we can to do as much as we can. But this year, all of those numbers will go up. We believe we need about 3 times as much funding this year as we had in 2015 to do the things we want to do for 2020. So although it's the year before the election, we need to raise more than any other year before an election. In fact, that number ends up putting us pretty close to what we spent in 2016 to spend it this year. And then next year, our goal is dramatically larger, about 10 times what we spent before. That may not be possible. We're not fools. We know that. The reason we think it is possible is some new doors are beginning to open. The endorsement we got from Newt Gingrich last October has powerfully awakened a few people to what we're doing, and we're trying to network within that to meet more and more of those people. A lot of those people are not our usual supporters. They are not pro-life, they're not pro-family, they're not hardcore conservatives. In fact, they're scared of some of those messages. But what we're marketing to them is effectiveness. Simply the thing that we do best is we are effective. We're not just trying to say the right things for the virtue of it. We're trying to do the things that will help our side win. At the end of the day, it's nice to do good things, but if you lose, not much good comes out of it. So anyway, that's where we're at. That's my 12-minute update for today, the 20th of March. Thank you for your support if you have already been supporting us this year. And if you haven't, may I please ask you to consider doing something now and making us a part of your giving all year. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.